Imagine for a moment that you are not limited by time. No rushing from one task to the next, no pressure of deadlines, and no feeling that every second is slipping away. Now picture a world where space no longer restricts you, where distance is just a concept, and you can be anywhere at any moment without physical movement. This may sound like something straight out of a science fiction novel, but according to Manly P. Hall, a renowned philosopher and mystic of the 20th century, escaping the limitations of time and space is entirely possible. Hall's works, particularly in the realm of esoteric teachings, are filled with clues about how we, as human beings, can transcend these dimensions. For those unfamiliar, this might seem far-fetched, but Hall's secret is rooted in ancient wisdom and a deep understanding of consciousness. What's even more surprising is how accessible this knowledge is to anyone willing to dive into its mysteries. In this video, we'll explore Manly P. Hall's teachings on time, space, and the power of consciousness. Along the way, we'll discover how, with the right mindset and awareness, you can begin to break free from the chains of these constructs. Before we delve into Hall's secret, let's take a closer look at the prison we live in, time and space. Most of us are constantly aware of these limitations. Time dictates when we wake up, eat, work, and rest. It's so ingrained in us that we've built our entire lives around the ticking of the clock. Meanwhile, space governs our physical existence. We are always here and not there. Want to visit a friend across the country? You need time and resources to get there. Want to experience another part of the world? You're bound by the logistics of travel. To Hall, this confinement isn't just about our physical bodies. It's a mental construct that keeps us tethered to a reality that, in truth, is far more flexible than it seems. He believed that the human experience is deeply shaped by how we perceive time and space, and this perception creates invisible walls around us. But he also insisted that these walls are not as solid as we think. Central to Manly P. Hall's teachings is the profound idea that time and space are not absolute realities, but mere illusions created by the mind. According to Hall, the secret to transcending these illusions lies in the power of consciousness. He argues that consciousness is not confined by the physical dimensions of time and space. Instead, it exists beyond them, functioning in realms we often overlook in our day-to-day experience. A powerful analogy to illustrate this concept is the dream state. When you dream, time and space do not behave the way they do in waking life. You might experience events spanning years in a matter of minutes, or travel across vast distances in the blink of an eye. This is possible because, in the dream world, your consciousness is not restricted by the same rules. Hall suggests that this dreamlike experience reveals a deeper truth about consciousness. It is not tethered to the physical body or the material world, and, therefore, can operate outside the boundaries of time and space. In his famous work, The Secret Teachings of All Ages, Hall explores the notion that by expanding our consciousness, we can access this freedom even in our waking lives. He believed that most people remain trapped in the illusions of time and space because they are overly reliant on their physical senses, which are deeply tied to these dimensions. The key to escaping this trap, he taught, is learning to detach from these senses and awaken the higher faculties of the mind, such as intuition and spiritual insight, where time and space lose their grip. By tapping into the higher aspects of consciousness, Hall believed that individuals could not only transcend the physical limitations of life, but also gain access to greater wisdom, creativity, and understanding, tools that allow for spiritual evolution beyond the confines of ordinary existence. Time, as we experience it, is largely a product of our perception. When you're bored or waiting, time seems to drag on, but when you're engaged in something exciting or fulfilling, it flies by. Hall emphasized that time is subjective, something that is shaped by our mental state rather than an absolute reality. By altering our perception of time, we can, in a sense, manipulate it. This is not to say we can physically stop the clock, but we can change how we experience time passing. Through meditation, visualization, and mindfulness practices, Hall believed that we could enter a state where time becomes irrelevant. Many spiritual traditions across the globe speak of enlightened beings who transcend the ordinary constraints of time. In Hinduism, for instance, enlightened sages or rishis are believed to access states of consciousness beyond time. In the Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna reveals to Arjuna that his divine vision allows him to see the past, present, and future simultaneously, indicating the fluid nature of time for the enlightened. Similarly, in Buddhism, especially within the Mahayana tradition, the concept of Dharmakaya refers to the timeless state of Buddha nature, where past, present, and future are experienced as one. Zen Buddhism also teaches that enlightenment brings an awareness where time dissolves and the present moment becomes infinite, often described as being one with the now. In Christian mysticism, saints like St. Augustine argued that God exists outside of time, viewing all of history, past, present, and future, in a single, eternal moment. The mystic Meister Eckhart spoke of eternity as now, where time is irrelevant in the presence of divine unity. Hall's idea of escaping linear time aligns with these spiritual traditions, suggesting that for the enlightened, time becomes a fluid tool rather than a rigid limitation, opening doors to a deeper, eternal reality. Manly P. Hall believed that space, much like time, is an illusion that can be transcended through the power of consciousness. He taught that physical distance only matters because we perceive it to be significant. In reality, space is not a rigid construct, but something fluid and malleable, particularly in the realm of consciousness. Hall argued that by altering our mental perception, we can unlock the mysteries of space and understand its true nature. A key aspect of Hall's teachings on space revolves around astral projection, the practice of consciously leaving one's physical body to travel through space in a non-physical form. In his seminal work, The Astral Body and the Nature of Astral Projection, Hall discusses the esoteric tradition of astral projection, an ancient practice that has been explored by mystics and spiritual seekers for centuries. According to Hall, when an individual projects their astral body, the limitations of physical distance dissolve. Practitioners have reported being able to visit far-off locations, communicate with other conscious beings, and even explore different planes of existence. This experience supports the idea that space is not a fixed concept, but something that can be transcended once we move beyond the physical plane. But Hall's exploration of space didn't stop at the mere ability to travel across physical distances. He also spoke of accessing higher spiritual realms, which exist beyond the material world. In these realms, space, as we understand it, no longer applies. These spiritual dimensions are governed by entirely different laws of existence, where concepts of physical distance and separation vanish. Hall believed that these realms were accessible to anyone willing to expand their consciousness and step beyond the material boundaries of life. For Hall, mastering the mysteries of space was about learning to transcend not only physical limitations, but also the deeper, more subtle boundaries that exist in the human mind. By practicing astral projection and exploring these spiritual dimensions, individuals can gain a greater understanding of themselves and the universe, moving ever closer to spiritual enlightenment. So how do you begin to escape the restrictions of time and space in your own life? Escaping the restrictions of time and space may sound like an abstract or lofty goal, but according to Manly P. Hall, it is something that anyone can begin to practice in daily life. The first step is meditation, which acts as the foundation for transcending the physical world. By setting aside time each day to quiet the mind and disconnect from external distractions, you create a space for inner awareness. As you sink deeper into meditation, the boundaries of time and space naturally begin to dissolve. In this state, you become more attuned to your consciousness, where time is no longer a linear chain and space no longer a rigid barrier. This is the gateway to experiencing reality beyond the ordinary. Another powerful practice Hall encourages is visualization. The human mind has the unique ability to transport itself anywhere with just a thought. By engaging in vivid visualizations, you can mentally place yourself in different times and locations, training your consciousness to operate beyond physical limitations. The more immersive and detailed your visualizations, the easier it becomes to transcend the material world, creating a sense of freedom from time and space. Mindfulness is another essential tool. When you fully engage with the present moment, you become aware of the fluidity of time. time no longer feels like a relentless force pushing you forward, but instead becomes something you can navigate with ease. Mindfulness sharpens your ability to live in the now, where past and future hold less sway, and you can experience life more expansively. For those seeking a deeper spiritual experience, astral projection provides a direct path to transcending the physical limitations of space. By consciously leaving the body, you can explore distant locations, other realms, or even higher dimensions that exist beyond the material world. This practice reveals that physical distance is merely an illusion created by our senses. In the astral realm, you are no longer bound by the constraints of space or time, allowing you to experience the universe more fluidly and expansively. Manly P. Hall's secret isn't about escaping time and space in a literal sense. Rather, it's about understanding that these are constructs of the mind. When we expand our consciousness, we realize that we are not bound by the same limitations that govern our physical bodies. In the end, the ultimate realization is that time and space are just tools, useful for navigating the material world, but not the ultimate reality. By unlocking the power of consciousness, we can transcend these dimensions and experience a deeper, more profound connection with the universe. Manly P. Hall's teachings serve as a guide for those ready to break free from the confines of ordinary reality. His secret? It's not so much about escaping as it is about awakening to the truth that, in the realm of consciousness, you were never truly confined in the first place.